My name is Tim Sayed. It's great to see you. Do you know, if I ask you what the $1,000,000 question is, or the £1,000,000 question, I wonder what you'd say. I've got a $1,000,000 bill here. It's a US fake dollar bill. It's like from a kid's game sort of thing. But if you ask what the $1,000,000 question is, I wonder what you'd say. For me, the $1,000,000 question was, most of my life, if God exists, who is he? And is he worth knowing? I don't know if you've seen many of these, but they're pretty interesting because it's pretty detailed and it's quite fun to give out to people, but it doesn't mean anything. It's not a real bill. You see, what gives a note its currency, what gives its value, is the government or the bank. They give it value. See, if it's not worth anything if no one's going to back it. So really it's just a piece of paper. But if I fold it in half like this, and you'll notice really slowly something happening. If I take the paper here, you'll notice now as I twist it, it changes and the color goes to blue and purple. And it now changes to a British £20 note. In fact, there are two notes. It's moved from something of no real value to far more value. Something which in currency is real and authentic, and something which was fake and a fraud. Not the note, but the worth of the note. It's interesting because when I talk to people about value, you know, if I looked at this note and I said, this is worth 20 English pounds, and I crushed it, it's still worth 20 pounds, right? And if I looked at the note and said, you're rubbish, you're not worth anything, you'll never be anything in life, well, the note doesn't mean anything, it still holds its value. Even if I crush it, stand on it, try and mark it in some way with scars, it still has its value. You know, I had a story that right at the beginning of a book I was reading called the Bible, and it said that God made men and women with incredible value, so much so that he put something of himself in them to represent himself. Incredible value. So that means that if we're made in the image of God, no matter what people say to us or how they speak to us or what they do to us, it does not inherently change our value in God's eyes. And you have never lost your value in God's eyes. Now, I was in the military when I was younger, and I've got my Green Beret. This was the beret I got when I was a commando. I was bored as a child. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and I recognized as a child that we didn't have medication when I was young, and I was quite bored. We didn't have the video games that you have today. We used to just go out and play on our bikes and stuff. And, you know, I remember thinking, I want to get out and go and see the world. My parents divorced when I was 9. I watched my mum try and kill herself. She was so sad at times, and she recovered, but watching that, witnessing that was a shock. Anyway, and that left scars on me. I joined the military at 17, the commandos, and I went and did 5 winters in the Arctic. It's 150 miles in the Arctic Circle, something like that. And I remember being in the Arctic once, and I was being assessed for something, and it was a whiteout. And we were in very, very deep snow. And we had to get these guys from one place to another place, about 10 kilometers, 7 miles at night, 6 miles or something. And the snow was so deep that the front guys with heavy kit had to stomp the snow down. They changed places. And I remember one of the guys saying to me, we're going to die. And the truth is, if you don't stick to your training, you can. But I always knew that as long as we had our compass, we would never go wrong. We'd had the training, we'd seen the map, we knew where we were going. Night or day, cold or warm, that compass would see us through. We had something we could rely on to give us direction. Anyway, later in life, when I left the Marines, I played around with ski schools and doing stuff. And then I was doing magic tricks as a hobby. And in the end, I became the Arsenal magician in London Arsenal Football Club. I worked for the England team, United Artists, Warner Brothers, doing movie premieres. I mixed with all the stars. I did a lot of television in the 90s. And then I was McLaren F1's magician. And I worked for the Paddock Club, which was Bernie Ecclestone's Paddock Club in Formula One. So I was doing really well. And I ended up doing some film, and I ended up sharing a place with a guy on TV. And every night he was unhappy and telling me that even though he was famous and successful, he was unhappy. And that wasn't good for me. I'm going to take this note here and just put my initials on it. And what I've done is I placed my initials in the center. See there? Just there. And it struck me to the heart. And I'm going to do an illustration with this pen. You see, what I'm going to do here is put the pen straight through the note like that. There it is, straight through. And when I realized that girls, gadgets and golds would never meet my needs, would never make me happy at the core of my being, it struck me through the heart. It was like a dagger going in my heart. And I thought, I'm not going to recover, because all my dreams of being famous faded away. Watch this. But I did recover. And I realized that what I was searching for was fake anyway. It wasn't real. You see, I was searching for the wrong things in the wrong places. So I didn't know anything about church in those days, and I went and knocked on a church door. And I said, in the beginning, in the military, you do beginner courses. Have you got any beginner courses on God? And they sent me on this thing called an Alpha course, and I went on it. And I learned a few things. I learned that I'd hurt myself a lot and I'd hurt others. I'd self-sabotage my success. I was self-medicating with drink and womanizing and partying. I was self-medicating with trying to get success because I had a lot of deep hurts and wounds inside and I didn't want to let them out. And what I've done is this. I've got a little rope here. I'd like to illustrate it like this. I've got a rope. I'm going to tie a little knot in the middle, and that looks like a knot, but it's not a knot, it's a fake knot. So I want to use some knots as an illustration, but we all put barriers in our life. We all put barriers. You know, what stops us changing? Denial and resistance to change. Often I was immature. I felt my emotional intelligence wasn't great. I didn't think I needed to grow up or change. I was stuck in one sort of stage in my life. And I saw other people get on with their lives and get married and have families. And I felt I was missing out. Now look, I've got a rope with two ends in the middle. But if I do that, this has two ends and this has two ends. And four ends and one rope doesn't make sense, does it? So look, let's try it like this. Oops, a daisy. We'll just pull it down. There we go. So now what I have is two ropes and two ends here, two there. You see, this was the track I wanted to live. But I was living over here, and I realized that real change requires taking radical responsibility. So that's what I did. You see, I recognized that in my life, I had many walls and barriers. This might have been my upbringing. This might have been my experience of relationships. This might have been my experience with life and money. This might be my ambition. And all these things were stopping me from being my true self. And when I went on this course, and started hearing about Jesus, I realized that he wanted to remove all these things and help me be the real me, to help me be the authentic me, to find out my purpose, to find out my destiny, to take the masks off and to not be ashamed of who I was. See, I realized that shame and guilt stops us from being who we are. So we spend a lot of our time hiding. We hide who we really are. And that's what I was doing. I had this huge sense of shame. Anyway, when I experienced Jesus, I realized I had forgiveness. Forgiveness for myself, forgiveness to others, and forgiveness from God. I said, God, if I've messed up, I'm sorry. Then I realized I had a friend with Jesus. He wanted to be my buddy. He wanted to be my master, my God. He wanted to be everything there with me. And it changed my life around. And I brought a few things here I wanted to show you. I don't know about you, but one of my weaknesses is chocolate. These are some of the chocolates that I like. You've got these little Smarties and eggs and this chocolate egg, and I love these. These are called flakes. This is one of my favorites. This is a flake, you know. I self-medicated with food a lot. I had a lot of problems with that. And he set me free over a period of time and started doing that. And it made me think, you know, one of my favorite films on TV is this. It's called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I've got a golden ticket here. And I realized that Jesus doesn't just select a few people. You see, the film was quite interesting because in the film, Willy Wonka's a bit like, reminded me of Jesus, because in the film everyone wanted to meet him. And the Chocolate Factory was a bit like heaven, because everyone, if heaven exists, everyone surely would want to go. And everyone in the book wanted to go to the factory. So that was good. And I like chocolate. But then I thought about Willy Wonka. You see, in the film, he only gives 5 tickets away. But the difference is with Jesus, you see, everybody gets a ticket. Everybody gets an invitation. It says here, present this ticket at the factory gates at 10 o'clock in the morning of the first day. And basically, it says you are the lucky finder of this ticket. And it says, bring with you one member of your family, only one, but no one else. In your wildest dreams, you could not imagine the marvelous surprises that await you. And do you know what? It was like that with Jesus. I realized he gives everybody a golden ticket. Do you want a ticket? Do you want to come to the party? Do you want to come to heaven? Do you want to come and know your Creator? Do you want to be my friend? I want to be your friend. I've got your back. And what's really, really interesting about it, if you rip it up or throw it away, it just pulls out another and gives you another invitation. And when you receive an invitation, when it's like me at Christmas, or well, at Christmas time we get parties, you know, I always think, who's it from? What's it for? And who's it to? And the invitation is to you and to me from Jesus for the greatest experience you'll ever know. And the most beautiful thing about that, the most beautiful thing about this invitation is, it is beyond your wildest dreams. The Christian life is not easy, but there's nothing like it in the world. And if you want to meet this Jesus and know him like I know him, I haven't got the time to tell you everything about him. You need to start that journey, but how you do it is starting like this. Say, Jesus, would you introduce yourself to me? I'm really sorry for things I've done. I've messed up. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry if I've offended or hurt you, hurt others, or certainly hurt myself, because we all hurt ourselves as well. We make promises to ourselves we never keep. We self-sabotage our success. We speak badly to ourselves. And then ask him to forgive you, and he'll forgive you. And then say, come into my life and just direct my life, Lord. I love you. And I promise you, your life will never be the same.